My name is Amelia, and I never thought I'd be good at speaking English. When I was younger, I would feel so shy in school because I couldn't speak fluently. My words would get stuck in my throat, and I wished I could speak like everyone else. One day, my best friend James looked at me with understanding eyes and said, "Amelia, you have to speak, even if it's not perfect. That's the only way you'll learn." At that moment, I felt a tear roll down my cheek because I knew he was right. It was the same day I promised myself that I would speak fluently someday. English wasn't just a language to me, it was a dream I wanted to reach. My first tip is this: speak with your heart, not with fear. It's okay to make mistakes because those mistakes will guide you. I remember meeting a boy named William. He also struggled with speaking, and he used to practice with his little sister, Charlotte, every evening. He said, "The trick is to talk slowly and clearly. It's not about speaking fast, it's about making sure people understand you." He made me realize that fluency comes from clarity, not speed. One day, I met Olivia. She was crying because her classmates laughed at her accent. I told her, "Don't let them make you feel small. Practice with people who care about your growth." We both agreed that speaking to kind listeners helps build confidence. Slowly, Olivia started feeling stronger, and her English improved. Tip 3 is to think in English, not in your native language. This is one of the hardest things to do, but my friend Daniel said it helped him the most. He said, "When you think in English, your mind starts to form sentences faster." Daniel used to carry a small notebook with him, and he would write down words he didn't know. There was also a time when John, the quietest boy in our class, stood up and said something so simple but true: "Speak as if nobody is judging you." That day, I realized that our biggest fear comes from thinking others will laugh at us. If you believe in yourself, your voice will shine. When I spoke to Michael, he told me a story about how he was scared to order food in English at a restaurant. But he took a deep breath and just said it. Even though he made a mistake, the waiter understood him and smiled. Tip number 5 is to practice in real-life situations, even if they scare you. Sometimes I would see Robert standing alone at the park, whispering words to himself. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "I'm talking to myself because it helps me get comfortable with the words." This is tip 6. Practice speaking to yourself in the mirror or when you're alone. There was a girl named Emma who never spoke much, but when she did, her words were like music. She said, "Listen to English songs and try to sing along." Singing helped her with pronunciation and rhythm, and I started to do the same. It felt like I was learning without even trying. Benjamin, one of my closest friends, would always remind me to smile when I spoke. He said, "A smile makes your words sound kinder and more welcoming. I learned that smiling gives you confidence and makes people want to listen to you. David shared a secret with me one day. He said, "Before you speak, take a deep breath. It helps calm your mind." I tried it, and it worked like magic. Taking a moment to breathe makes your voice steady and strong. My friend George had a way with words. He would say, "Learn one new word every day and use it in a sentence. Soon, those words will become your friends." I took his advice, and my vocabulary grew little by little, making me more confident in my speech. Paul once told me that watching English movies with subtitles changed everything for him. He said, "You see how words are used in real conversations, so I started watching movies, and I felt like I was living in an English-speaking world, even from my home." Isabella's tip was to join an English-speaking club. She said, "When you're with people who are also learning, you don't feel alone. Being in a group made it easier to practice because we all helped each other." Arthur, my mentor, always encouraged me to read books out loud. He said, "Reading out loud helps you get used to the sound of your own voice." It was difficult at first, but then I realized my voice was getting stronger with each page. Thomas had this unique way of speaking. He said, "Don't just learn words, learn phrases." He explained that phrases are like little shortcuts to fluency. I started using phrases instead of individual words, and my speech became more natural. Charlotte, who was like a sister to me, would always say, "Practice makes progress, not perfection." Her words stayed with me because I knew I didn't have to be perfect, I just had to keep trying. Sophia's advice was to record yourself speaking. She said, "When you listen to your own voice, you can hear what you need to improve." It was strange at first, but then I realized it helped me find my mistakes quickly. Frank told me to watch how people move their mouths when they speak English. He said, mimicking their mouth movements can help with pronunciation. It felt funny at first, but it really worked, and I started speaking more clearly. Donald, who always seemed fearless, said, "Speak with emotion. If you believe in your words, others will believe in them too." His words taught me that fluency isn't just about the words you say, but how you say them. Ava was a quiet girl, but when she spoke, her words were always filled with warmth. She said, "When you talk to people, look into their eyes. It shows that you believe in your words." This helped me build a connection with people when I spoke. Charles always reminded me to be patient. He said, "Fluency is a journey, not a race." I held on to his words whenever I felt frustrated with my progress. I knew I was moving forward, even if it was slow. Joseph's advice was to set small goals. He said, "Don't try to learn everything at once. Take it step by step." Following his advice, I set little goals for myself, like learning 5 new words a week. Mia, my neighbor, always told me to practice with native speakers if possible. She said, They can correct your mistakes and help you sound more natural. Her tip made a huge difference because I learned so much just by listening to them. One of the most helpful tips I got was from David. He said, "Never be afraid to ask for help. If you don't understand something, just ask." It was hard for me at first, but then I realized that asking questions is a way to learn. Anna, who loved traveling, said, "Travel if you can. Being in a place where you have to speak English will push you to improve." Even though I couldn't travel much, I imagined myself in English-speaking countries and practiced like I was there. Oliver had a tip that I found really interesting. He said, "Write your thoughts in English every day. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just write." Writing helped me organize my thoughts and made speaking easier. Samuel would always say, "Don't compare yourself to others. Your journey is your own." This advice was important because I often felt like I wasn't improving as fast as my friends. I learned that everyone's path is different. Henry, who loved reading, told me to read aloud to my family. He said, "They will correct you if you make mistakes, and they'll do it with love." Reading to my family became a fun activity, and it helped me a lot. Welcome to Smart English Stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English stories. Let me begin the story of how a poor man became a millionaire. This is a journey that starts with struggle, dreams, tears, and hope. The hero of this story is James, a man who had little in his pocket but big dreams in his heart. Born in a small town in the USA, James grew up in a tiny house with his parents and two younger sisters, Emma and Mia. James's family was not rich. His father, David, worked long hours as a carpenter, and his mother, Amelia, did everything she could to keep the family together. They didn't have much, but they had love. Still, life was hard, and James often went to bed with an empty stomach. One day, James stood outside a toy store, looking at a toy car he always wanted. He knew his family couldn't afford it. A tear rolled down his cheek, and he thought to himself, "One day, I will buy everything I want. I will take my family out of this life of struggle." That day, James made a promise to himself that he would become rich, not just for him but for his family. James knew education was the key, but learning was hard. He wasn't the best in school, and he struggled with English. Sometimes his classmates made fun of him because he didn't know the right words. But James did not give up. He started to read books in English, little by little, every day. He believed that if he could speak English well, he could talk to anyone, anywhere, and make his dreams come true. His best friend, Michael, was always by his side. They often talked about their dreams under the old oak tree near their house. "One day, we will do something big," Michael would say, and James nodded, believing in every word. James didn't have money to go to college. He worked in a small grocery store, stacking shelves during the day and studying English at night. He knew that if he wanted a better job, he needed to speak and understand English well. He practiced with every customer who came into the store, even when he was scared of making mistakes. One cold evening, James saw a girl named Olivia crying on a park bench. She was lost and didn't know how to ask for help because her English was not good. James sat next to her, offered her a tissue, and spoke to her kindly. "It's okay," he said. "We can all learn." They talked for hours, and that moment changed something inside James. He realized that English was not just a language, it was a bridge to connect with people and change lives. Slowly, things began to change for James. He got a job in a small company as a delivery boy. It wasn't much, but it was a start. He saved every penny, ate simple meals, and kept learning. He met people like Joseph and Robert, who gave him tips on how to invest money. They told him, "If you want to grow rich, you must learn where to put your money." James listened, learned, and remembered every lesson. He started a small side business selling handmade crafts with his friend Charlotte. The first few months were tough, and they didn't make much money. But James never stopped believing. He worked harder, stayed up late at night, and studied successful people like Benjamin Franklin, who started from nothing. One night, when James was feeling low, he thought about his family. He remembered his father's tired eyes, his mother's gentle hands, and his sister's hopeful faces. He knew he couldn't give up. "I will make it," he whispered to himself. "I will make it for them." James kept pushing forward. He learned how to speak English fluently by listening to people, watching movies, and practicing in front of the mirror. He wrote down new words in a notebook and used them in sentences until he felt confident. With his improved English skills, James started to communicate better with his clients. He got a promotion and became a manager at his company. He saved more money, and with the help of his friends Daniel and Thomas, he started investing in small businesses. One day, James's hard work paid off. His investments grew, and he made his first big profit. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the numbers in his bank account. Tears filled his eyes as he thought about all the times he had gone to bed hungry and all the nights he had stayed awake dreaming about this moment. But James's journey was far from over. He knew there were more challenges ahead, more mountains to climb, and more dreams to fulfill. As he sat alone in his small apartment, looking out at the city lights, he thought to himself, "This is just the beginning." James's life began to change in small but meaningful ways. With the money he saved from his job and investments, he was able to move his family to a nicer neighborhood. They were not in a mansion, but at least they had a comfortable home where they didn't have to worry about leaks in the roof or cold nights without enough blankets. One evening, James's little sister, Mia, ran to him with a smile on her face and said, "James, I want to be just like you when I grow up." James felt his heart swell with pride. He knew that everything he was doing was not just for him, it was for his family's future. His younger sister's words gave him even more strength to keep pushing through the tough days. James continued to work hard on improving his English skills. He joined a local group where people from different countries came together to practice speaking English. At first, he was nervous and shy, but he remembered how far he had come. He remembered Olivia on the park bench and how speaking English had connected them. He spoke slowly, carefully choosing his words, and soon he was sharing his ideas with the group. He made friends with people like Amelia and George, who were also trying to make their way in a new world. One day, during one of these group meetings, he met a girl named Sophia. She had a bright smile and a kind heart. They quickly became friends, and Sophia encouraged James to take even bigger steps. She believed in him and saw the potential he had. For the first time, James felt like he had someone who truly understood his dreams. He shared his goals with her, how he wanted to start his own business and make a difference in the world. Sophia told James that the key to success was not just hard work, but also smart work. She taught him how to use technology to reach more people and how to make his small business grow. James listened to every word she said and put her advice into action. Together, they created a website for his craft business, and they used social media to show their products to more people. Months went by, and their business began to grow. They received orders from different cities, and they worked day and night to keep up with the demand. There were times when James was so tired that he could barely keep his eyes open, but then he thought about his family, Sophia's smile, and the dream he had been chasing for so long. One night, as they sat together looking at the stars, Sophia turned to James and said, "You know, James, I believe that no matter how small a start, if you have a big dream and the courage to chase it, you can do anything." James knew that these words were not just about his journey, they were about life itself. English had played a huge role in his journey. He knew that if he had not taken the time to learn the language, he wouldn't have been able to speak to his customers, work in a better job, or even have met Sophia. English became more than just a language for him. It was a tool that opened doors he never thought possible. James remembered the days when he struggled with every sentence, how he used to feel embarrassed when he couldn't find the right words. Now, he was giving speeches in English at local events, sharing his story and inspiring others who were just like him. He told them, "Never be afraid to learn something new. Every mistake you make is a step closer to success." One day, As James was walking through the city, he saw a young boy sitting on the sidewalk, looking lost and sad. The boy reminded him of himself so many years ago, staring at that toy car he couldn't have. James knelt down, gave the boy a warm smile, and said, "Hey kid, what's your dream?" The boy looked up with wide eyes and said, "I want to be rich, just like you." James's eyes filled with tears as he thought about how far he had come. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small coin, and handed it to the boy. "This is the first step," he said. "Don't ever stop believing in yourself. And remember, learning English can take you places you never imagined." James knew that his journey was not over yet. There were still many dreams to chase, challenges to face, and lessons to learn. He had become a millionaire, but the true wealth he found was not just in his bank account, it was in the people he met, the lives he touched, and the dreams he helped come true.